Hello everyone, it is Obscure Nick here today with a new video, and today we're going to be discussing a retrospective of Ren and Stimpy's first season from 1991 to 1992, and see if it stood the test of time. So let's deep dive and thrive. In case you already don't know, Ren and Stimpy is a Nickelodeon show, one of the first original Nicktoons from August 11th, 1991, along with Rugrats and Doug. The show was definitely one of the most controversial ones of all time, with having a controversial creator, John Kricfalusi. The show lasted from 1991 and ended on Nickelodeon in 1995, with the remaining final episode to air on MTV. It gained a massive following over the years, from airing on Nickelodeon to MTV, and it even was on Comedy Central at one point. It had greater syndication than some Nickelodeon shows because...
Hungry? Why wait?
I guess it was more adult themed, truthfully, so it could fit in more boxes than other shows that are on the network, and truthfully, at the end of the day, that's due to the content itself. However, I'm glad it was realized and rated PG-13 later on, because if it was released as a kids show today, it would not get a pass. Honestly though, this show is a classic, and it brought me a lot of happy joy, even though I did not really like it as a kid, but more as an adult as I got older in my teen years and adult years. I truthfully appreciated the show more for its creativity and its out of this world nature. However, the John K. allegations have also kept me distant from it when those came out recently, and what he did in his personal life, I don't feel influenced the whole show, in my opinion, and that's why we're doing this series, and we're gonna just deep dive into that. Today we'll be discussing standout episodes from the season that are controversial, but also crazy and imaginative, and out of this world. So the first one on my list, and this is probably my favorite episode of all time from the series, it's called Space Madness, which is one of the most iconic episodes ever, where Ren and Stimpy basically imagine themselves in space, and then they end up being like these space cadets, and they deal with the atmosphere of space in general. And this had a series of episodes to it, but Space Madness is truly out of this world. It's crazy. Like, I remember Ren on the soap and stuff, and all of them floating around, and just the imagery itself is fantastic. And I think you definitely get the idea of Hanna-Barbera, which John K. was inspired a lot by in this specifically on all the episodes, but in this one it's definitely bringing it to a new element of bringing it in space. And this is an episode I always go back to, and there was even, John K. said that it took a year to do just one scene of this. There was another follow-up episodes to it called Marooned, where I believe they get stuck on this like unknown planet that's crazy, and like they don't know where, and like all these creatures, and they're like camping out on it pretty much as space cadets. And that had some surrealistic MC Etcher type of vibes to it, with all those like floating like creatures that you don't even know what they are. And it's really interesting, and it's so creative and crazy, and out of this world. And then the follow-up was to that, which was the third one, was Black Hole. And again, very crazy, out of this world from space itself, and always so eccentric too, like just in general. Another one that was just stand out from the season was like Untamed World, where Stimpy hosts a nature show pretty much, and you see the characters in a whole different atmosphere. And there's one that's similar to this called Prehistoric, which is later in the series, which we'll get to. And this was an overall relaxing, again, out of this world. You don't know what to expect from it, and I think that's what made it so controversial, but also gave it its own unique identity, which is why it stood out from Rugrats and Doug. Whereas Rugrats and Doug, you kind of could expect what happened, except Rugrats had the imaginary part. I think that's where it comes unexpected, but Doug was like a typical like sitcom, but as a cartoon type of show, you know what I mean? That you could see in everyday life. The most iconic episode of Ren and Stimpy is called Stimpy's Invention, where Stimpy gives Ren this helmet, and then this is where the Happy Happy Joy Joy song comes in. And throughout the Happy Happy Joy Joy song, which is one of the most iconic songs, the most iconic part of the show, Stimpy's like hitting his head with a hammer, trying to get the happy helmet off. And it's just crazy. I'm like, oh my god, you're gonna have a massive headache afterwards. But again, this show is so surreal and crazy, and I quite enjoyed this show quite a lot. Another standout one is Stimpy's Big Day, and The Boy Who Cried Rat, and Big House of Blues as well. Those were crazy. Big House of Blues was the pilot to the show, and it aired sometime in the middle, but it aired originally in a theater, and then it was put into the show, and I think it was reworked a little. And that one it was kind of dark because of the dogs getting taken away to be exterminated pretty much. Because Ren and Stimpy get stuck in the pound, and then each dog gets exterminated. And it was kind of dark, just that theme. And there were some dark themes in general, which when we go to season 2, that gets pushed a bit further. But season 1 is very lighthearted. It's very fun. It's crazy and eccentric, and it stays there. And I kind of see why Nickelodeon picked this up, because it wasn't too adult themed in this season as much. This season definitely had a lot of strength, and it was classic, and it was essential for fans of the show, truthfully. And it's essential for first watchers, I think, to check out some of the episodes I checked out. I think it had a unique artistic direction for sure, and definitely different for the time. I think John Kay and Bob Kemp and the entire team itself, because this is not just John Kay, this is an entire team effort, put their all into it, and I see why this took an insane amount of time. It was definitely worth the time, I think, in my opinion, to do this type of art, to put that type of art out there. And I didn't see anything either too triggering or too controversial that I'm going to be questionable. I think it's at the right level in this season. Many of these ideas are also just like abstractions of our mind, I feel like, because it's so relatable, especially as an adult who is stressed and has anxiety, dealing with that every single day. I can relate to this. I feel, is like an abstract part of my mind speaking. That's what I feel like Ren and Stimpy truthfully is. It has adult themes here, but not in a sexual way. Gonna be very clear. I didn't get any sexual innuendos, not that I can think of from this. The subject matter is more of a adult theme because it's about everyday life and getting a job and adulting like an adult. The most problematic thing for me was the way Ren was mean-spirited to Stimpy, but I know that played into the humor a lot, but I also felt that promoted the wrong message in some way. But I don't think it needed to be as extreme as it was, but I think it could have been toned down just slightly. I do think the extremes of Ren geeking out were quite funny. This is also satire comedy, so not everyone's going to get it as well. So it's only meant for a certain amount of people who can handle that type of comedy, who understand that type of comedy. I understand satire comedy, that's why I don't always get offended, but this is not everyone's taste. I don't have everyone's taste, by the way, so I understand it. I totally respect if some people get offended by this sort of show, but I personally understand it's comedy. It's part of a certain place. It's supposed to be, it's a figment of the imagination, and I completely get that from the show. And I get it more as an adult than I did as a kid. However, I do want to go back to Ren a little bit. I don't think he was supposed to be as mean to Stimpy or to come off as brutal. And I do know, however, in Adult Party Cartoon spinoff, that John Kay made Ren a little bit more harsher, and I think Bob Kemp, he brought the heart of the show, I think. I think he balanced it out, and we definitely see it in later seasons on that he was the heart of the show in many ways. You know, there's a reason why John Kay was fired early on and why Bob Kemp lasted 3 seasons longer. Without Bob Kemp, Ren and Stimpy wouldn't be what it is either. So there's John Kay, but there's also Bob Kemp. John Kay couldn't even get Adult Party Cartoon to last even a season, so that speaks volumes. So shout out to Bob Kemp for being the true heart of the show. Anyways, that has been my retrospective on the first season of Ren and Stimpy. There's not many episodes to season 1. Season 2, there's a little bit more to work with there. But season 1 overall has a lot of strong and classic elements and essential elements to the show. I am excited to continue doing season by season retrospectives, and then we're going to do other elements to the show, videos of that are controversial, but also, you know, other spin-offs, controversy, and all that later on. But anyways, for now, thank you guys for watching today's video, and I hope you guys tune into next week for season 2 of Ren and Stimpy retrospective here on Obscure Nick. Much love to you all, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.